everybody. Happy Sunday. I'm so happy to see everybody. I hope you're all doing well. It's nice to see all our buddies here. And so I don't forget, I want to say thank you to anyone who jumps in to do looking out for trolls, or which we, knock on wood, we don't seem to have that issue too, much, which is nice. But anyone who's, jumps in is greeting, or, what all the stuff that moderators do. Thank you so much for doing that. So I appreciate that. Anybody that wants to jump in and do that. I want to introduce my guest today, though, Marcie from Spirit Made Me Do It. Hi, Marcie.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm fine. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, I am so happy that you're here as well. And I hope that everybody has their tea or their coffee or their mimosa or whatever their jam is on Sunday afternoon. Because I think that this is going to be a really enlightening discussion for all of us. I think there's a lot that I can feel that this is something we need to talk about, and that I think it will be so helpful. I always learn something every Sunday, whether it's from my guides or from the people in the chat or from my guests, which, with you, Marcie, I know you have a lot of wisdom to share. And so I look forward to that. But I think this is a good subject to talk about. So I'm going to put up first of all, let me put up your thing. So Marcie from Spirit Made Me Do It. That's your YouTube channel. And yes. I did share that in the description. So if people want to find you, and please do subscribe to Marcie's channel. It's amazing. And you have these just little nuggets of wisdom that you share from it's like from your back porch or from your front porch.
It's from my front porch, yeah.
Front porch, okay. And your little doggy running around, or your big doggy running around in the background.
Both of them.
So you have two?
I do. I have my Bruno, who is that brown wolf-looking dog. And then I have my Freya, who looks like a cow. She's black and white.
Oh, how cute.
So she's so cute. She's such a sweet baby.
Nice. Well, yeah. So see your little doggies, and also and then your pieces of wisdom that are clearly inspired. Spirit inspires you to share. And I think, and so often I find that, a lot of, it's so interesting, because I just think that, up, I always think of like kind of up above us is kind of this super highway where our guides are always trying to reach us and reach out to us, and whether it's our angels or our relatives, or and sometimes there's themes that tend to kind of permeate these lines of communication, and you'll hear other readers talk about these things as well. And I always think, oh, that's the message, right? That's the message for all of us right now. And so you'll hear these things kind of repeated. And one of them that you were just talking about was, this is the time to choose. And that was the theme of my 2024 predictions, was that it's going to become very clear who and what is for chaos and division, and who and what is for cooperation and love and coming together and figuring these things out. And it's going to be our time as individuals to choose where we land, and to start living that, and helping others to live it. Right. So, but I loved the message that you brought. And how did you come to that? Was it through your cards? Is it through prayer? Is it through just downloads? How does it come to you?
It was coming through a lot through the cards. I was getting a lot of doing a lot of readings for people, and I kept seeing the same thing over and over and over again. It's time to make a decision. And it really, almost all of my readings have always brought up the love. The love is everything. We just have to love each other. It is the easiest thing. It's most simple message. Just be kind, just be respectful, just be all the things that we're not seeing on the news stations and things that are coming across our feed regarding politics and earthly events and whatnot. There is just so much. Love can change absolutely everything. I have witnessed changes in my children's lives just from love. My son brought home a person that he had met at a homeless shelter. And
Oh
when this
gosh.
kid first came to live with us, he couldn't even look me in the eye. He would like hug the side of the wall going into my son's bedroom to spend time with my son just to hang out. And this kid now is going to college. He's studying to be a counselor. There is, our family loved him into believing in himself, and the transition is absolutely amazing. And that's all it is. That's all we have to do. It's no it's no big secret. It's just love each other and just be kind and help when we can. And again, how you look at everything, how you view everything, it's all your own truth. Everybody has their own journey, and it's wonderful to help people on their journeys. But sometimes we can get, while we're helping them, we can get dragged into their sorrow and we can go into that mode. If we can stay on our own journey and still help others, but still stay mentally focused on the love, that's when the change happens. That's what I've witnessed in my life.
I I love that story. It makes me want to cry. It makes me want to weep. So I but I was thinking right before we got on how humans love to complicate. We love to complicate stuff, don't we? We want, it's almost like we want these really we want complexity when it really is so simple. And I think because there people can be very complex. I think people, uh, can be very complicated, but I think you're right. I think the answers are very simple. We tend to complicate stuff. We tend to make our lives more complicated. We tend to make things more complicated with the way we see things, and the way we view things, and the way we think, and the way things we want to hold on to, and the things that, we want to complain, and we want to, we get into these modes where we make things so much more complicated than they need to be. And I think you're right. The answer is usually the same. It's usually to be to love. And I always, say be kind, I mean, everybody's, that's not a new thing, but that's always my go-to when I don't know what else to do. I just think, just be nice, just be kind. Um, I
It's
think you're
everything we
right.
learned in kindergarten, right?
Yeah,
It's everything they teach you in kindergarten. Share, be kind, say nice things, don't fight, keep your hands off each other. Those beautiful things that you learn in kindergarten. And the complexity, I think, comes in when we start to form our personalities, how we show who we are
right,
as the human form.
right,
So I try to kind of remember to look outside of my human form when I start to get concerned about things, because I mean, I'm human. I there are times, I get my moments when I fall like right into the pity party, and it's okay to go to that party, but just don't stay too long. Just recognize what you're doing, honor that you have these feelings, because we are human and that is what we're supposed to have. But okay, now let's look at the bigger picture. Let's look at how what is happening now is helping me to grow, and how that is helping the collective to grow. if you always remember that your actions affect everyone and that it affects the collective, then love is always the only choice.
Mm,
Making
yeah.
the best decision for everybody involved is always, and not everybody includes you. You know, sometimes we want to do something because our upbringing, our religious upbringing taught us that we're not supposed to do for ourselves. We're supposed to do for everybody. We are part of that everybody. We are all connected. So we are part of that everybody. We've got to love on ourselves as well. And you can't really love on each other, on others, until you truly love who you are as well, because that's when you're able to be your authentic self. That's when you're able to show the world your shine. You show the world God showing himself through you. That's that's what your personality is. It's you representing God in your way. That's my take on it anyway. I mean, everybody, agree with me or not, but that's my take. That's where my journey is telling me to go. That is what my journey tells me to do. Is just to be, you know, me. And I know I can be a bit much for some people, but
No,
I can't be anybody else.
you're great, Marcie.
Oh,
Don't ever think that. Um, I think you're right. I think we are the, we are each a unique expression of source. That's what I think too. And so, um, in that you're right. There needs to be self-love as well. And I think, uh, empaths in particular shy away from that idea because it's kind of like, no, I'm here to help everybody else. I'm here to take on the pain of the world. I'm here to make sure everybody else is doing okay. But you're right. It has to start with you. And, and, and anything that you do, um, anything that you put your energy into, if it's energy that is depleted or depressed or sad or exhausted, that's the energy that's going out, that you're putting out into the world. You have to make sure your cup is full. And so what does self-love look like in your life? What do you, are there things you do? Is it some of the way that you think about yourself? Is it things you do for yourself? Is it things you remind yourself? What does it look like in your life when you love yourself?
with me, it's really going with the flow. That helps me to love myself. How am I feeling right now? What is how am I supposed to be reacting to this situation, or what am I doing, or how am I feeling about this situation? Do I feel like doing this now? No, I don't feel like doing this now, because the energy, like you said, I like to cook, and you can taste if somebody is not in a good mood. And they've cooked, you can taste it. And that's why I always, I jam up my music. I put my music on. I'm dancing in the kitchen. I'm just loving, and oh, this is going to be so good. And my family's going to love this. And oh, this is my husband's favorite dish. And, it's how I show love to each other, to other people,
Right.
is also how I show love to myself. I don't know if I'm explaining that right,
No,
but
no, no. I think I know, I totally understand because it sounds like you're it's just kind of honoring your own where you are,
right.
and also it sounds like recognizing what you have to offer and how important that is, because you're saying, I love to cook, and I know that's one of the ways that I can affect the people around me. I
Mhm.
can affect my own mood. It's your way of kind of your again, that self-expression, that expression of God through you. One of the ways that you express that is through cooking. And
Yes.
so the fact that you honor that and recognize it. I think that's the key, is you recognize it in that that's one of your expressions. And so being able to to use that and recognize that is part of loving yourself. Also
It
that
absolutely is.
that way of like of again, like you said, kind of honoring where you are from moment to moment, day to day. Because I know for me, a big thing for a long time was I need a lot of downtime. I'm just one of those people that
Yes.
needs a lot of downtime. But for years, I would think I'm being lazy. Oh, I need to get up. Oh, I need to stop this. Or I need to get busy. Or I need to. And then I would be depleted, and I'd start getting kind of depressed, and I realized that that's my way of fueling. That's my way of fueling myself so that I can do and I can be for other people. But I think you were just explaining that you need to honor those things moment to moment, and how you are, however that is. It doesn't really matter how you can function your best. That's the way you do it, and you should love and honor that. And that is part of showing love for yourself, right?
Yes, absolutely. Another thing is nature too, spending time with my dogs. My dogs, I especially Bruno, I have a very intense relationship with him. I know that sounds weird, but he is a very intense dog, but I totally get him, and I feel his energy. He was practically feral when we got him. We adopted him sight unseen. And when I tell you this dog, he's broken my collarbone, he broke my wrist, he
Oh,
my rotator cuff, my I mean, and the TV and my husband's dental appliance, and I mean,
oh my
4
God.
phones. He was just
I'm thinking of Clifford the red dog.
that is exactly what he's like. But he was you have to understand where he came from, right? And you have to understand where you came from in order to recognize what you need. I recognize that he was put out on a chain when he was 5 months old, and he was left there until we got him at 9 months. And he didn't have that love. He wasn't even really inside the house. So you had to kind of look at it from where he came from. So in loving yourself, you have to look at what you came from and how to express those needs from a position of intelligence rather than from your childhood experience.
Mm-hmm.
Some people get caught in that emotional, if they've had an emotional trauma at 12, they get stuck in that emotion and they're not loving themselves. They're not looking at it. You have to look at it from, yes, this happened to me. Yes, it was not a good experience. But it's the emotion that you attach to that experience
Mm-hmm.
that you need to release. If you can release that emotion that you attach to that experience, it just becomes an experience.
Right.
And if you can look at it that way, you can see how to take care of things. You're not covered with this emotion. It's like peeling an onion. You just take it off and take it off and take it off until you get to the point where you recognize why you went through it or
Mm-hmm.
how it served you. And then you recognize that it no longer serves you, then you let it go. That's part of loving you, is recognizing where you need your healing.
Right.
Just like Bruno needed his healing. He still needs his healing. The dog is
So cute. He's so
we don't
cute.
talk about Bruno. Let's just say that. He's
Well,
too much.
I think that's true, and everybody can drink, because I'm about to say Eckhart Tolle, but that but that's the thing about the pain body, right? He talks about that unexpressed emotion that's attached to trauma, basically things that happen, and you don't express it at the time. You hold on to. I think women, I know men do it too, but women do it an awful lot. Is they shut it down. They don't express it fully, especially if it involves anger. I think women have a hard time expressing their anger. Not every woman, trust me, I know some of those women that have no problem expressing it. But if you're an empath, or if you're a person that grew up in, especially in organized religion, you want to be nice and you want to be kind and you want to be loving, and you don't ever want to not be that. So expressing those harsher energies is difficult. And you people are drinking now because I said Arcatoli. Um, but but yeah, that and his whole thing is that it's that we don't realize that it's still there, and so somebody will say something that triggers that, and it all comes flowing out, and it's way over the top, and but the point is it needs to come out. And then once it's released, and once you, like you said, you're kind of present with it, you're aware, oh, that's that. I recognize that. That's from when I was a kid, or that's when I felt shut down as a kid, and you just tried to shut me down. And so I'm freaking out. It's these, when that happens, oh, there's unexpressed emotion there that I've been holding on to for God knows how long, and it's coming out. And that's the point, is to express it, see it, like you said, gain what you can from whatever happened, and then let it go. And I think that's the hard thing, because there is working through trauma, and there's dwelling in it. And I think that once you can gain everything you can from it and then let it go, you never have to go back there again. Your mind is yours. If you want to go back there and keep going back there, you can. But if it doesn't serve you anymore, you never have to go back there again, and you can just move on. And I can't tell you how freeing, at least that was for me, for certain things that I kept going back to for some reason. Why didn't I do this? Or I should have done that. Or why didn't this person say this to me? Or why didn't it? And once I realized, oh, I never have to go back there again, it was like freedom. It really was. And again, a self-love thing, right? Because why am I punishing myself going back to these little dark spaces in my life when they don't serve me anymore at all? But it's hard to do, right? You get in that habit of, this is my story, this is my story, this is my story, and releasing it is hard.
But like a story, turn the page.
Yeah.
Just turn that page. You don't have to keep going back and rereading that first chapter. Let that chapter go.
Yeah.
And it takes, I'm not saying that this is something that you can do, snap and it's done and it's over with. No, sometimes you keep going, like, talk about anger issues. I'm an Aries. I mean, we're fire. We go from 0 to 60, and a lot of the hurt and the fear and the frustration that I had growing up. And I talk about this in one of my earlier videos when I'm on the beach. It showed itself in physical fights as a child. I mean, I was 9 years old and I wasn't a bully. I mostly defended other people, but there were times when I just needed to get this out of my system. And it wasn't that I was looking for a fight, but I was ready for a fight. Right. I was always like on the verge of being ready for a fight. And part of that was trying to figure out how to protect myself as a child from these scary things that were happening to me. But as I grow up, I do still get certain triggers. There are certain things that I immediately want to go on to the defense. But every time it happens, I remind myself, okay, next time this happens, this is going to be your response. This is how you're going to handle that situation. I used to work in retail. I had a million hats. But when you work in retail, I mean, people can be nasty, especially nowadays. And the best response to that nastiness is, I can see that you're upset. What can I do to help you? Instead of going on that defensive, how can I help you? That is the most disarming thing that you could do to anybody who's in your face giving you trouble. And be sincere about it. Really try to help them. There's obviously, they are expressing to you, just like I was when I was a kid, they are expressing to you what's going on inside them. It has nothing to do with you. Don't take defense. Don't think that you have to stick up for yourself. You've got to figure out what their problem is and how you can help them to have an easier life, even if it's just for the moment.
Right.
If you can just forget your pride and, they're calling me a jerk or they're saying I'm stupid or whatever. Put that aside. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what they think. It doesn't matter what they're saying about you. What they're saying about you is what they're feeling about themselves.
Right.
So disarm that. There is nothing more empowering than being able to disarm someone like that. If you can be in control of your emotions, you can control everything. And again, not easy. It's not always as easily done as it is said. So it's something that you work on. But if you keep reminding yourself, okay, if this happens again, this is how I'm going to react. And every time you just keep reminding yourself, okay, I didn't do it so great that time. This is how I'm going to react this time. You will train your mind to say it when it happens, and it'll be automatic. It really is about training your mind and stepping outside of the emotions of the situation. And that helps you to feel like you have more control over the world. And then if you start looking at the world from a place of magic and fun, and you can live that, and you can spread that into the collective and spread that into the world. And that's what why this love is needed so much, is because we need to learn how to heal each other. We've all been through the ringer. We just have to learn how to heal each other. And there's only one way to do that.
I totally agree. And Gina says, the best response to nastiness is holding presence. And I think that's so true, because if you start to get lost in your own head, in your own stuff, and recalling, well, I'm not going to take this anymore. People I'm just tired of people like this talking to me this way. If you get into that, then you're just going to be adding to the chaos of the moment. Whatever's going on with them, you're just going to be adding fuel to that fire. So I completely agree with you, Gina. That's exactly right, and exactly what you were saying.
You're giving over your power when you do that. Absolutely. You're giving over your power, and you're allowing them to drag you onto their journey. You got your own journey. Don't worry about somebody else's.
Yeah, absolutely. And I wanted to, we kind of, like I said, I just kind of like to go with the flow of the conversation. Clearly, some of this stuff needs to be chatted about. So we are, but I wanted to talk about today. One of the topics I wanted to cover was the quote that is there on the screen. The most important decision we make is whether we believe we live in a friendly or a hostile universe. That's Albert Einstein, and he's pretty smart. I heard.
I worked in corporate America for a long time, and I used to have a picture of him on my desk with his hair crazy and his tongue sticking out. You know that?
I know the picture. Yeah.
I love Einstein. I do.
I do too, and filled with he definitely brains, but also extremely enlightened being. I think had a lot of wisdom to share. Not just smarts, and
he was connected to his child.
That's very different.
Yeah, he was connected to the child within himself, though.
Yes,
he allowed himself to, much like you. But you are. I know when I say this, some people might get the wrong idea, but you are so childlike in your love. Your love is just so. It's pure. It's that loving on. Oh, a kitten. Oh, a pretty flower. You know what? And I mean that in the best of ways, Kim. I cannot even tell you how much I admire who you are. But when you can connect to that child and be childish and you should hear my husband and I talk to each other. Don't tell anybody, but I call him Mr. Pudding Man. And I I call him all of these crazy things, and we're so silly with each other. And it's that laughter that we go through our family. Every time my daughter leaves the house, she'll scream at the top of her lungs, I love you! And we'll all scream back, we love you! And our neighbors, I don't know, they must think we're crazy. But it's being able to connect to that child. That's where the love is. It's within that child. It's
Yeah.
remembering who you were before the world got a hold of you.
Oh
And
gosh. I mean, that's so true.
part of that is remembering that it is a friendly universe. The universe isn't out to get you.
Right.
It's not. It's if you think it is, it's going to be. If you believe it to be that way, then that becomes your reality.
Exactly.
Make your
Exactly.
reality
And
love.
you're right. And because our perception is our reality. And
Mhm.
we choose our perception, right? We choose it. And so therefore we choose our reality. And how, how do you, how do you see the world? Do you see it as friendly? Is that how you see the world?
When I was a child, I did not.
Mhm.
There was a lot of lessons that I learned as a child, and there were a lot of experiences that I had that were very painful and pointed towards a very hostile world. I had a friend who was abducted, that affected me in a horrible way. It still does at times if I let myself go there. But when my second husband and I, my husband Rich, when we got together. I mean, we've known each other since we were 9 years old, and we went our separate ways, and then we ended up together. He was living out of state. He ended up coming back to our area because his mom was sick, and he ran into a friend, and he called me up, and he was like, "I'm coming over your house tonight, whether you like it or not." And I'm like, "Okay, great." I haven't seen him in years. And we went out and he brought me home and he said to me, I have loved you for 30 years. I'm coming back in 2 weeks and I want to see you again.
Oh my gosh.
He, that was the first time I ever felt total unconditional love from a man.
Mm.
My father was not he was a narcissist and it wasn't, and that's not his fault either. I needed that. And I believe that we choose our parents. I believe that we have certain things that we choose in our lifetime. Okay, this one's coming in here. This one's coming. You're going to come in at this point and help me with this. I believe we do that. I think that's because I'm a team player. And I always feel like I need to have everybody on this, on the same plate. And his love, if I hadn't married him, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now. Love
Mm.
makes you brave. Love makes you so brave. I mean, I did not, a YouTube channel is the last thing I ever thought I'd be doing in my lifetime, believe me. But he gave me that bravery, and I passed that on to others, and I totally forgot where I was going with this. But
Well, it started with, how you see the world.
oh,
It-
okay.
yeah,
Well, that's when my view of the world really changed, was
right,
because of his unconditional love.
right,
And then I started to see this is the fairy tale I always wanted. It came true. I always wanted that fairy tale love, and now I have it. Well, I manifested it, right? It was something that I always wanted, and it was
right.
something that I worked towards, and I finally got it. That changes the way you look at everything. Life is magical to me. I see signs everywhere all the time. And you helped me with that too. The first class you had, it taught you how to figure out what your most powerful gift was.
Mhm.
And mine was how the world would show me signs, how I would see like signs in the world. That helped me incredibly. That was, as a matter of fact, I've referred people to that particular class that you have. But that's where you really see the magic. When you see that you are getting signs from the world. One day I went to was my husband's birthday, and I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't even plan a meal. You know what? I got to make his favorite meal. Well, he loves lasagna and he loves spaghetti and meatballs, and you never know which. So I went into the store and I texted him and I was like, what would you like for dinner? Do you want lasagna, spaghetti, meatballs, or something else? Well, he didn't get right back to me, but I was walking through the store and I heard this woman say to her husband, oh, the mix for meatballs is on sale. And then I turned the corner and then somebody else mentioned meatballs. And then I turned the corner again and this woman looked at her son and said, I think we'll have spaghetti and meatballs for dinner tonight. And I looked at her and she looked back at me and I was like, so I kind of like explained the situation. And I said, I think you were part of a sign. She said, maybe I am, and she like played right into it. But 2 minutes later, I got a text from him, spaghetti and meatballs. It just, you see, when you see stuff like that, it's like, oh yeah, magic. It has to be. What else could it be? Watch how a flower grows, right? Or anything. The seed has to break through all of that dirt to sprout out, right? That's a miracle that even happens.
Mm-hmm.
And miracles are magic to me. It's the same thing. So that's why I look at it. It's because it started with the love. Again, everything goes back to the love.
It doesn't, and I think you bring up a great point too, which is that it's for us to see. If we're not alert to it, it could be happening all the time, all around us. And if we're not alert, if we're lost in our thoughts, or we're lost in the past, or we're lost in what we're going to do tomorrow, or whatever, worrying about what's coming, we miss so much, because it's not going to happen it can happen in our head to a degree, but even then you have to be present to get a message from your guides. You can't be lost in your brain. You have to be present. You have to be aware and awake. And I always tell people when I would do mentoring that, one of the main things is when you ask your guide something, to know they're going to answer you. So now it's up to you to be alert and awake to the answer, because they're going to answer you. They're not going to ignore you. But what happens is usually we'll ask a question. We won't get the answer in 5 minutes, or we won't pick it up, or we'll be like, oh, I guess they're not listening or whatever. And then we forget about it. And we just start going off in our brain and thinking about tomorrow and, whatever, making our shopping list and getting involved in the daily dramas. And meanwhile, they're most likely sending us signs right and left and here to and fro. And if we're not alert to it, it doesn't matter. It's us that needs to be awake.
The
Right?
perfect example of that, I had asked my guides for a sign whether or not I should do something. And I asked them for a sign, and an octopus popped into my head. So I said, okay, show me an octopus. About, I don't know, an hour later or something, I went downstairs into my husband's man cave to ask him a question. And I was like, oh, what are you watching? He said, oh, I'm watching my octopus teacher. And I was like, oh. And then I went upstairs and it didn't even hit me. It hit me like 10 minutes after I went back upstairs. I was like, oh my God, my octopus. There's my octopus. But it was right there in front of me. But because I went down to ask him a question about, I don't know, dinner or whatever, that's where my focus was. You do have to be alert. You do. I tell when I'm reading people all the time, everybody has this ability. It's just a matter of really paying attention and recognizing it for what it is. I think a lot of people want to, they think it's going to be like this magical moment, like they'll be walking down the street and in their head they'll see a child falling from the building, and then they'll turn the corner and there'll be a child fall. No, it is so subtle, and it's horribly subtle at times. You question it. But they want you to pay more attention.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And because it's meeting them in the middle, right? It's all on them. It's not all on us. It's that partnership. It's that willingness to engage that
Right.
has to be awake in us. If it's not there, then they can't do it all. They can't, every so often there will be that thing where it somehow they just break through. But that is rare. Like you said, it's usually very subtle. And so we have to be part of the process. We can't just wait for it. We can't just expect it to be a neon sign, because that's just not the way they work. And they want us to be part of it. They don't want it to be just them always hitting us over the head.
And the thing is, it comes in your voice.
Yes.
You'll hear your own voice in your head, except when they have to get your attention.
Yes.
I have this one guide that she comes in from the back here. I call her the drill sergeant because she's just like, if she says something, it is boom. I kept getting periorbital cellulitis. That's an infection around the cells around your eye.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd have to go in and get intravenous antibiotics. And if I didn't, it would travel down my whole face. And it's very dangerous. It can cause meningitis if it goes towards your brain. I was in Brockton. I was at a teaching hospital. And I had gone in, and the doctor, I don't know, resident, I guess he was.
Mm-hmm.
And I told him what was going on. He looked at my records. He was like, okay, well, we'll set that up. He left the room. And as soon as he left the room, I heard CAT scan. It was like, boom, it was bang, CAT scan. And so when he came back, I'm kind of ashamed, but I lied to him. And I was like, I'm starting to get a really bad headache. You know as well as I do how this can lead to meningitis. He said, let's get you a CAT scan. They discovered a tumor on my pituitary gland that was very, very close to my optical nerve. I could have been like driving down the road and all of a sudden just gone blind.
Oh my gosh.
I know. So if they have to get your attention, they're
Right.
going to get your attention in a different voice. But for the most part, that communication it's in your own voice.
Yeah.
So, and that makes it, am I just arguing back and forth with myself? You know what I mean? It
Right.
makes it hard. It makes it difficult.
It does. And again, it's that awareness, right? That awareness that's weird. I wasn't even thinking about that. And I just heard CAT scan, or that's weird. Because it's you, but it's also comes in a way that is, it pops in. It's a little bit different. It pops in without you, because there's a certain, even if it's a couple of seconds, when you think something, you build the thought, or when you imagine something, you build the picture. And with your guides, it's immediate, it's quick, it's fast, it pops in. And so just being aware of that fact that it's coming in Vine's voice, but I wasn't even thinking about that, and hear it, and now I'm seeing picnic benches or whatever,
Right.
or I just thought of this particular, whatever, movie theater. That's weird. Or this person. A lot of times people will pop in, and you'll get the feeling like, maybe I should call this person. Well, yeah, that's what they're trying to tell you.
Right.
I can't, one time I remember I was sitting, I was just like up at night, and I was trying kind of, and be aware too of that in between space as you're going to sleep, as you're waking up. Those are huge. And I was starting to kind of drift off to sleep, and I just saw a flash of my sister, and I wasn't thinking about her, but I could have easily been like, oh, just me thinking whatever. But I was just aware that that's really weird. That's odd. And so I just decided to call her out of the blue. And it was before really texting was a thing. And she was at the time, this was many, many years ago, but she was going through divorce. And she said, Kim, I was just laying in my bed praying that somebody would call me, because I am in such a desperate state. And it was just one of those things that it made me realize that, especially to people we love, we're so connected in a way that it seems, like you said, it seems magical almost, but when those kinds of things come in where you're like, that's weird, even if it makes you pause for a second, it's usually because it is a message or they're trying to convey something. So brushing it off, you can do that. But the more you lean into stuff like that and the more you listen and pay attention, the more it, not only the more it happens, but the more it's almost like it's like a muscle. When you keep using it, it just gets stronger and stronger. And then it's so you recognize it all the time. You know when it's like, oh, that's a message. I need to call that person or I need to do this or that. But those kinds of things are, it really is astonishing how super connected we are and how reachable we are, really.
Yes.
You know, but
Yeah.
particularly in those states because our thinking slows down. It's when we're just in that constant state of going around and around with thoughts in our head. It doesn't serve us at all.
No. Well, think like you were saying earlier about, we're worried about this happening and that happening. I've got to take care of this and I've got to take care of that. The animals live in the now.
Right.
And animals live in the now. They don't worry about this or that. They just do what they know they're supposed to do.
Right.
That's the connection we want. But our monkey brains, the monkey talk that goes along in your head, it does keep you from that. But that's part of the human experience, right? We're here to experience things. We're here to experience the disconnect from that. Well, I believe more so in this time, we are meant to remember who we are. We're meant to remember that we have that connection, that it should be like automatic. Just let it, just trust it, just trust and believe. I mean, it's like Tinkerbell, everybody clapping their hands, just believe. And it works. And I tell people all the time, and this is very hard for me because some people that I know get it and some people don't. But when somebody tells me that, oh, my car broke down, I'm like, oh, good. In my head, it's like, oh, good. This means they're making room for something else. You must have another car coming, or you know what I mean? It's
Right.
and if you can get excited about where that flat tire might be taking you, you get all sorts of stuff. If you can be excited about the possibility, that just brings more excitement to you. Because in that excitement of what is coming, you're admitting that you know that it's coming. Do you know what I mean? You have to
Yes.
know it. You can't
Yes.
just like think it and hope it and wish it. You
Yes.
have to know that this is coming for you. And if you look at things, well, my mom just had a hip replacement. So for the past, I don't know, since March, I've been helping my mom out, taking her here, doing the shopping and taking her to whatever appointments she needs. And now she's at the point where she's able to do it by herself. So that's opening up free time for me. So I'm like, oh, I wonder what's going to be filled, I wonder what's going to fill that. That's where the magic is too. The magic lives in your excitement. Be excited. Be excited about everything. Why not? It's a lot more fun to be excited. We create our own reality. My husband doesn't believe in Bigfoot. Heck yeah, Bigfoot exists. He exists in my world. My world's a lot more fun believing that there's a Bigfoot out there or a Loch Ness monster. I mean, it's just more magic. It's more things to be excited about. Just be excited. Tell people all the time, just be excited about everything.
I love
Got a bill in the mail. Woo!
And that is such an enlightened, I mean, that is a very enlightened way to live. It really is. It really is. I mean, that is a next level kind of enlightenment that I think we all aspire to myself. And the thing is too, is that I think you're right, Marcie, because I think that it's that idea that if you see the world as friendly.
I've lost your voice. I can't hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Okay.
This
Uh-oh.
always happens with us, Kim.
Okay.
It's happened before with us. Something went wrong.
So Kelly said she can hear me. So I don't know what's going on. You can hear us both. Okay. Okay. Um, okay. Maybe I'm not sure. I'm not sure what's going on. Okay. So can you hear me? Can you hear me yet? No? Okay. Can someone write in the chat that maybe it's for her to go out and come back in? Go out and come back in.
Leave and come back. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know how to get out.
Okay, there she goes. Yeah, because it's weird because I could hear everything. It's weird that this has happened before. I mean, she was my first guest on this show. I don't know if you guys remember, and I got kicked off the internet. And it was just they were working on the internet in our area, or they were working on our whatever. And here she is, and she was on for like 40 minutes by herself. Hi, Marcie. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Yeah, Kelly, yes, remembers that. Okay. Oh, weird. So maybe her internet is something's weird is happening. Mercury's in retrograde. That's always what it is, right? Oh, that's too bad because I wanted to ask her something. The point I was going to make, I'll just tell you guys, the point I was going to make is that that's the thing. When you see the universe as being friendly, you know that even the negative stuff, the bad stuff, the hard stuff is still working in your favor somehow. It just hasn't fully manifested yet. But when you have that trust and that faith and that belief that the universe is friendly. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Everyone's like, it's Mercury retrograde. It's Mercury retrograde.
Ruth, this Mercury retrograde.
The first time you were my first guest on the show, and I don't know if you remember, but you were on like 45 minutes by yourself.
Oh, I remember.
I felt so bad because it just happened to be they were working on our electrical grid or whatever, and I just got kicked off the internet just like for 40 minutes, and I'm like, sorry, Marcie. She was a trooper. She just kept talking, and it was great. No, but I was just telling them that the point I was going to make was that if you see the universe as friendly, even when bad stuff happens or negative stuff happens or stuff doesn't go your way, you know that the universe is working in your favor somehow. It just hasn't quite happened yet. It just hasn't quite manifested yet. But if you have that belief, you just know that you have to wait a period of time, and then you're going to figure out, oh, this is why that happened. And if you have that way, and somebody just mentioned, I think it was Gina, I think was talking about A Course in Miracles, and A Course in Miracles talks about that the universe, if somebody does you wrong, the universe is on it. You don't have to worry about that.
Right.
It's always working in your favor, and it's always working to correct and be in balance. And that if you have that belief and that understanding, and you see the world as friendly that way, you don't have to worry about anything. You know that somehow this is going to be to my benefit, even if it's a great lesson that makes me grow. They talk about when the cracks happen, that's when the light can shine through. And that is what it is. I remember, and the other thing about seeing the universe is friendly, right? I went through, I was going through security in an airport. I think it was New York for some reason. Either I was coming home or I was going there. And a woman was in front of me and she was having just a hard time. I don't think she traveled very much because she had a hard time getting her shoes off and getting her, all the stuff you have to do through security. When you travel all the time, you're ready to go and you've got the bin and you've got everything. But if you don't do that, it's very like, oh, I have to do this now. Oh, I have to do this now. It can be a little confusing. So I was just kind of standing there and I did, again, you can drink. I did the Eckhart Tolle thing of I'm not going to be impatient or anything. I'm just standing here. I'm not waiting for anything. I'm just going to be here. I'm just going to be here, be now, use it as part of my spiritual practice and just be here, be now. So she was fumbling and doing her thing and it was fine. The guy behind me was losing his shiz. He was freaking out and he was mad. And why do you not know how to travel? Don't you know what you're doing? I mean, he was just going off. And I was standing here and thinking, this is so odd because he and I are both standing there witnessing the same event, but we're having two totally different experiences.
Right.
And it really was in the way that we viewed the world. He was clearly in the mode of, this is happening to me. Why is this happening to me? Why are you doing this to me? Why am I having to stand here above? This should not be happening, basically, right? And I was in the mode of, she probably doesn't travel that much. It's okay. We'll all get through security anyway. It doesn't matter. Whatever. It just wasn't a thing. But here we were seeing the same event in the same space even, but having two completely different experiences.
Yeah.
And that's how powerful the way you see the world is. We're seeing this a lot in our country right now, right? We'll see an event and we'll have two completely different reactions to it, two completely different experiences because we see the world differently. Yeah, but you know what I'm talking about, right? Even in families, you can talk about an event in a family or the way you grew up in a family and you grew up in the same house and yet you had completely different kinds of experiences. You have completely different relationships with your parents, and it's the way you view it. And that's how much power is in that. So like you said, and I think this is just backing up what you were saying. So see it as magical. Have fun with it. Enjoy it. Enjoy the ride. You can be either on the roller coaster, putting your hands up and just trusting the universe and letting it go, or you can be freaking out thinking, I need to get off this ride. It's not what I thought. I don't like it. It's too scary. You can be either one, and it's your choice. You get to choose.
Yeah.
Right.
Perception's everything. It really is. Like if something, I have had a couple of people that I know who have lost jobs recently. And again, my first reaction is, oh, good. You know what I mean? No, it doesn't. It might not feel good to them. So, I kind of have to watch what I say. But at the same time, I'm like, this is a waterfall moment. John Davis talks about how the universe takes the path of least resistance, right? So it starts at the top of the mountain with the ice caps and they're melting and the water has to get to the ocean. It doesn't try to go up the mountain. It goes down the mountain. It goes around the trees. It goes over the rocks. Well, sometimes it goes over the waterfall. So when you have a moment that feels particularly jarring, my manifestation's coming. What's coming? And again, that not only gets you through it mentally, but it brings it to you quicker because you're putting out that excitement. That excitement's like the gas that gives your frequency, it's putting your frequency up higher so that the manifestation can come to you. It really is about what you believe and how you perceive, and just always do it from a place of love. Always remember that you are love.
Right.
And with that love comes the trust that everything's going to be okay, that
Right.
everything is for my best. Everything is for the highest and the best for everybody involved. And then you just trust that it's for the highest and the best. And if it doesn't work out the way you want it, well, it wasn't the highest and the best for everyone. Accept what it is, go with the flow. And
Right.
go with the flow is so huge this year. Go with the flow is a real thing this year. I've been
It
saying that
really, really
all.
is. It really, really is. And like you said, and I think that that is something that the universe and spirit are brilliant at, is pulling out that positive thing from the most negative things. If making you see, uh, forcing you to pull out the positive, or allowing you to pull out the positive, because and again, it's a matter of perspective. It's a matter of seeing it. It takes work. It's not like this is an easy thing to do. I think it gets easier the more you do it. Again, it's like a muscle. The more you do it, the easier it gets to be able to see it and live it and that kind of thing. But you can be hit hard with things. We have to go through death, and we have to go through
Yeah,
illness, and we have to go through all of these things that are just unimaginably hard. And so it's not like it's always easy just to turn around and say, well, this is, this, maybe it is for Marcie.
well,
But it can be, some things can knock the wind out of you on this earth plane. But at, if you can't get to the place where it's, this is going to be good somehow. If you can't get there, just put your trust in the universe that they're going to figure out a way to show you how this can benefit you in some way.
right.
They will do that. They will do that eventually. It may not be overnight, but it's there. And that opening, like I said, that light will shine through somehow. They will point you to it. I'm telling you. I wanted to go through and just get some of the wisdom in that I've been kind of reading as we go. But I just wanted to, before we knock this on the head, as they say in England, I wanted to just um, talking about self-love. Yeah, Gina talks about self-love. When we love ourselves, we project the worthiness of receiving love.
Yes.
That's great. I love that. Um, yeah, that we're all waking up to this again, self-love, and passing it on to our young. And now um, the coming role would be so different, and also that, like you said, letting
Yeah.
love flow kind of through everything. Um,
So true. I see these kids today and they're amazing. They're amazing how they take care of each other.
it really is. It is amazing. And Barbara says the words of kindness, acts of love, pieces of heaven from up above as the sign over her bedroom door.
Oh,
Um, and people are also concurring with what we're saying as well about yes. And this is what we're talking about right now. When we witness nature, which we are a part of it, always seeking balance, going with the flow is the way to live peacefully. Exactly. Um, that's always what the our greatest spiritual teachers always tell us, to look to nature to figure out how to do stuff. You know, like again, like Eckhart Tolle says, you never hear an animal talking about low self-esteem. They just are. They just are. They just are. They're just living each moment as it comes. And we have this extra added burden that animals don't have, of this self-awareness, this awareness that I am here. Why am I here? What am I doing here? But we're trying to evolve beyond that. like you said, the monkey brain, the thinking, and living in a way that's more aligned with that higher self, that we're connecting into that knowledge of waking up while we're here so that we can make the most of this experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, Marcie, thank you so much for coming on and chatting. I'm sorry we lost lost you for a minute, but I
That's
want
our thing. Thank you so much for having me. I'm always happy to spend any time I can with you, Kim. So thank you
Oh,
so
thank you,
much.
Marcie. And again, I love your outlook, and people need to go watch your channel. And I wanted to also mention, um, we have a lovely community member, Jean. I think her last name is Aristano. I think that's right. She just opened opened her website up. It's evolvingspirit.com. She does energy healing and aromatherapy. And I put her information into the chat. She's going to come in and talk with us. Hopefully I'll get her on next month at some point. But I just wanted to bring that to your attention if you want to support a community member that is doing what she is put here on this earth to do. So I hope that you guys will support her, and also Marcie at Spirit Made Me Do It. And thanks so much, Marcie. Thank you, everybody. I don't know if I'll be back next week or the week after. I'm traveling next weekend, so I'm going to see how tired I am. I can come on and answer questions. I'm not sure. I'm going to wait and see. But if I don't see you next week, I will see you the week after. And the week after, at the beginning of May, we're going to start our 50 state energy lift till the election. So we're going to go all 50 states. We're going to lift the vibration going into the election, so we can all not worry about that.
Excellent.
Raise us all to enlightenment before the election. All right. Okay. Thanks, Marcie. Thank you, everyone. Have a great Sunday. Bye.
Bye.